There comes a moment, a defining instant, when something clicks. Not outside, but within. You've been striving, pushing, grinding with everything you've got, and yet, fulfillment still feels like a distant island, just out of reach. You're doing the work. You're showing up. So why does it still feel like you're stuck? The truth? It's not about the grind. Not entirely. The real shift happens in your inner world. It's the way you perceive, the way you respond, the stories you tell yourself silently. That's the switch. That's the power source behind every breakthrough. Because if your mind is stuck on fear, on limitations, on every possible thing that could go wrong, then no matter how fast you run, you'll always feel like you're dragging chains. But the moment you flip that inner switch, from self-doubt to self-trust, from survival to expansion, everything begins to realign. Life doesn't change first. You do, and then the world follows. This isn't about pretending things are easy. It's about awakening to your own influence. And yes, it's in you. Right now. Not when you hit the next goal. Not when everything's perfect. Now. Because belief isn't a luxury. It's your ignition key. Think of it like this. Your mind is a garden, and every thought, a seed. If you constantly plant worry, hesitation, or "I'm not ready," you'll harvest exactly that. Not because you're incapable, but because you've trained your mind to expect limitation. But the moment you choose intention, when you nourish your thoughts with vision, resilience, and courage, that's when the impossible begins to shift. Let's be real. The difference between those who evolve and those who stay still, it's not talent. It's not luck. It's not having a perfect plan. It's mindset. Look at the story of Stephen King. His first novel, Carrie, was rejected 30 times. He threw the manuscript in the trash. It was his wife who pulled it out and told him, "Keep going." That tiny choice, to try one more time, launched a global phenomenon. That's not just persistence. That's mindset. And you have that same switch inside you. It's just waiting for activation. Every challenge you've faced, it wasn't there to break you. It was there to sharpen you, to strip away the noise and show you what you're really made of. Because resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And the more you fall forward, the stronger you get. Not in spite of failure, but because of it. Let's rewind for a moment. Let's go back to the root. How do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself when no one's listening? That quiet voice inside, it holds more power than any external praise or validation. And here's the catch. If that voice is constantly whispering, "I can't," "It's too late," or "What if I fail?" you're building a ceiling that doesn't even exist. You're creating walls from thin air. But when that voice becomes your greatest ally, that's when you rise. This is not about false hype. It's about building a foundation. About choosing thoughts that empower, not paralyze. It's about looking at the mirror and saying, "I may not be there yet, but I'm moving, and that's enough." It's about recognizing that every legend, every icon, every world changer started with doubt. But they moved anyway. So the real question isn't, will it be hard? The real question is, will you keep going when it is? Your path isn't meant to be linear. Growth doesn't follow a straight line. It's messy. It's gritty. It's full of starts, stops, redirections, and revelations. But every twist in your journey is a thread in your masterpiece. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just in motion. So pause, breathe, and remind yourself, this moment, right now, is part of it. This resistance, it's your training ground. This delay, it's your teacher. You're building something bigger than a goal. You're crafting a mindset that doesn't wait for the perfect day. One that decides today is good enough to begin. And that's where it all starts. Not with perfect confidence, but with the decision to believe anyway. There's an engine that drives every action you take. Not your job, not your schedule. It's deeper than that. It's your perception of what's possible. Your inner narrative. And whether you realize it or not, it's running everything. See, most people think results come from effort alone, but it's not that simple. Two people can work equally hard, same hours, same grind, and end up in completely different places. Why? Because the quality of your actions is shaped by the quality of your thinking. If you're constantly second-guessing yourself, if you approach every challenge already expecting to lose, then effort alone won't carry you far. It's like sprinting in sand. You move, but you don't go anywhere. Now flip it. Imagine approaching your goals with the certainty that growth is possible, that every setback is feedback, that no challenge is bigger than your ability to adapt. That's not delusion. That's powerful psychology. It's the difference between pushing out of fear and moving from belief. Let's break it down. People with a rigid mindset, those who think skills are fixed, that failure is proof they're not good enough. They avoid risk. They stick to what's safe. And over time, they shrink inside themselves. But those who choose a growth perspective, they evolve. They welcome the discomfort of learning. They see failure not as a label, but as a lesson, a signal, a stepping stone. Take Oprah Winfrey. Before she became a media icon, she was told she was unfit for TV. But she didn't internalize that. She transformed it. She turned rejection into resilience. And that mindset, that's what built an empire. Here's what most don't realize. Every thought you have fires off emotions. And emotions? They're fuel. They determine whether you freeze, flee, or face what's in front of you. So if your internal dialogue is filled with self-blame, fear, or scarcity, you'll find yourself hesitating, procrastinating, sabotaging your own rise. But when your mind is wired with confidence, optimism, and grit, suddenly you take action, not because it's easy, but because you believe it's worth it. Here's the practical truth. Your mindset is programmable. It's not locked in. You can rewire it daily. You can interrupt every negative loop and replace it with something stronger. I'm not ready becomes I'm preparing. I always mess up becomes I'm learning what doesn't work. I'm not as good as them becomes I'm on my path and it's unfolding. It's not fluff. It's strategy, because your internal vocabulary sets the tone for everything else. Let me be crystal clear. You're not weak for doubting yourself. Everyone does. What matters is what you do with that doubt. Do you let it drive the car? Or do you hear it, acknowledge it, and then keep going anyway? Growth starts when you decide that your inner world matters as much, if not more, than the outer noise. So what can you do today? Start with awareness. Track your thoughts. Pay attention to the words you use when you talk to yourself. Are they building you or breaking you? Then shift. Not all at once. Bit by bit. Word by word. Belief by belief. This is how transformation begins. Not with a massive overhaul, but with small choices made consistently. With every thought you upgrade, you build a foundation strong enough to hold the future you're aiming for. And that future? It starts with how you think when no one else is watching. Let's talk about something powerful, something invisible that shapes your reactions, your relationships, your results. It's not luck. It's not circumstances. It's awareness. Most people live on autopilot, reacting, repeating, regretting. They wake up, get pulled by their emotions, and wonder why life feels like a loop. But not you. Not anymore. You're here because you're ready to take the wheel, to stop reacting and start responding. It begins with recognizing your emotional blueprint. Every one of us has one. It's the subconscious programming that runs in the background. The way you interpret a harsh comment, the way you shut down after a setback, the way stress makes you either overwork or avoid everything. But here's the truth. Just because it's your pattern doesn't mean it's your destiny. Self-awareness is the upgrade button. It's the skill that turns unconscious habits into conscious choices. It's the pause between the trigger and the action. The breath before the reply. The decision to grow instead of spiral. Let's say you face rejection. Instantly, your body reacts. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe your thoughts rush to past failures. Maybe your inner voice whispers, "See, you're not cut out for this." But now, with awareness, you catch it. You step back. You breathe. You choose. You remind yourself, this isn't the end. This is a moment. And I decide what it means. That's not just emotional regulation. That's emotional leadership. And when you lead your emotions, you lead your life. Think of it this way. Emotions aren't enemies. They're messengers. Anger? It's pointing to a boundary. Fear? It's signaling where growth is hiding. Sadness? It's asking for healing. Joy? It's saying, more of this, please. When you stop resisting emotions and start listening to them, you gain control. Not by force, but through understanding. That's the game changer. And how do you strengthen this skill? Start small. Grab a journal. Write down what you feel, not just what happened, but how it made you feel and what you did next. Over time, you'll spot patterns, triggers, tendencies, and with that insight, you can rewire. Meditation helps too, not because it makes stress vanish, but because it gives you space. Space to observe your thoughts without becoming them. Space to slow down long enough to choose a better path. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind. It's about entering it. Because when you observe without judgment, clarity rushes in. And from clarity comes power. Let's not forget boundaries. Emotional self-mastery also means knowing when to say no, when to step back, when to protect your energy from chaos that doesn't belong to you. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about being aligned. When you understand what drains you and what fuels you, you stop living by default and start living by design. And what's beautiful is that the more you master your emotions, the more emotionally intelligent you become in the world. Your conversations deepen, your reactions soften, your confidence grows, not because everything is easy, but because you are steady. So when life throws chaos your way, and it will, you won't crumble. You'll center. When things go off track, you won't panic. You'll recalibrate, because you've built more than just discipline. You've built internal strength, and with that strength, you'll rise. Again, and again, and again. Success doesn't erupt like a volcano. It grows like a sunrise, gradual, radiant, unstoppable. And every inch forward counts more than you think. You see, we live in a world obsessed with the highlight reel. Everyone's chasing the dramatic leap, the instant win, the viral moment. But real greatness? It's built in the moments no one sees. It's built in the quiet commitment to keep going. In the unglamorous discipline of doing the work, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. That's the truth behind every legend. Behind every overnight success is a mountain of invisible effort. What separates those who rise from those who stay stuck isn't a secret strategy. It's consistency. It's the refusal to stop, even when progress feels microscopic. Think about it. 1 degree is what turns water into steam. That single degree makes all the difference between ordinary and powerful. So if you're showing up daily, if you're chipping away at your goals with grit and focus, even when it feels slow, you're winning more than you know. But here's the trap. We sabotage ourselves with perfectionism. We wait to feel ready. We overthink every move. We compare our draft to someone else's masterpiece. And in doing so, we stall our own rise. Let's flip the script. Progress, perfection. Always. Action over thinking. Every time. Momentum is magic. And momentum is built one step at a time. You don't need a 10-year plan to start. You need clarity on today's step. That's it. Want to write a book? Write 1 sentence. Want to start a business? Make 1 call. Sketch 1 idea. Research 1 thing. The magic is in motion. And here's another truth. It's okay to adjust, to pivot, to evolve your goals as you grow. That's not quitting. That's intelligence. Success is not a straight path. It's a dance, a dialogue between vision and reality. What matters is that you keep moving, that you keep building. And when doubt creeps in, and it will, don't argue with it. Just prove it wrong with action. One tiny win, one task completed, one habit repeated. That's how confidence is born. Confidence doesn't show up, and then you act. You act, and that's what creates confidence. Track your progress. Write down your wins. Celebrate the smallest breakthroughs like they're massive, because they are. Every time you take action, even if it's messy or imperfect, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. And those votes add up. Look at any athlete, artist, or entrepreneur at the top of their game. What you don't see is the thousands of repetitions, the late nights, the skipped shortcuts, the long road that built the strong foundation. That can be you. You don't need a big break. You need a big why, and the discipline to keep showing up for it. And the beautiful part? The more you move, the more momentum works in your favor. It becomes easier, smoother, quicker, until what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. This is how transformation happens. Not by waiting for the stars to align, but by choosing to rise anyway. You are not stuck. You're in progress. You're not lost. You're evolving. Every step you take is reshaping your future. So keep going. You could have the strongest vision in the world, but if your environment is out of alignment, it'll pull you off course. Because energy is contagious. Mindsets are transferable, and the people around you, they either water your growth or drain your roots. That's why your circle matters more than you think. Let's break it down. Every conversation, every interaction, every comment you allow into your mental space is either feeding your belief or feeding your doubt. So ask yourself, who are you listening to? Are you surrounded by voices that inspire action, or by noise that fuels hesitation? Are your people builders or critics? This isn't about blame or cutting everyone out. It's about intentional alignment. If you want to expand, surround yourself with expansion, with people who don't just tolerate your goals. They believe in them, who challenge you to go further, think bigger, and stay accountable. You don't need a crowd. You need a crew. A few voices that speak truth, call out your greatness, and remind you who you are when you forget. And it's not just people. Your entire environment talks to your mind. The content you consume, the spaces you spend time in, the thoughts you rehearse when no one's around. Everything you expose yourself to leaves an imprint. If your daily input is negativity, drama, or self-comparison, don't be surprised when motivation feels hard to find. But if you flood your mind with stories of resilience, words of purpose, and messages of possibility, your entire system shifts. That's not fluff. That's neuroscience. Your brain is plastic. It rewires based on repetition. Feed it power, and you'll act in power. Feed it fear, and you'll act in fear. So choose wisely. Curate your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Seek out mentors, not just in person, but through books, podcasts, channels. Let their mindset rub off on yours. Let their belief fuel your next move. Speak life into your own vision. Create habits that support your evolution. Declutter anything that keeps you small. Sometimes the most powerful growth move isn't to add something new, but to release what no longer fits. That habit, that voice, that old identity. This is about stepping into alignment, creating a space, mentally, emotionally, physically, that supports your elevation. Remember, you are the average of what you allow. So if your energy feels off, start by auditing your influences. If your dreams feel dim, check who's holding the flashlight. This isn't about control. It's about responsibility. You have the power to shape your surroundings, to choose voices of hope, to build rituals that fuel your rise. to create an ecosystem of growth. The right support doesn't just cheer you on, it stretches you. It reminds you of the mission when your motivation dips. It calls you forward when comfort tries to settle in. It reflects your potential when your mirror shows only flaws. You don't need everyone to believe in you, but you need you to believe, and at least a few others who echo that belief. Protect your energy. Elevate your circle. Build an environment that breathes life into your goals. Because your mindset is not just an internal thing. It's built, reinforced, and reflected in the world you create around you. Pause everything for a second. Breathe in. Right now, this very moment, isn't just another tick on the clock. It's a fork in the road. A chance to decide who you're becoming. Not tomorrow. Not when things settle. Now. Because there is no perfect time. No flawless condition waiting just around the corner. The only moment that holds real power is this one. So, here's the question. What are you going to do with it? Will you continue rehearsing limitations? Or will you choose to create something different? Something bigger? Not someday. Today. Because you don't need more time. You need a decision. A decision to believe in yourself before the results come. A decision to show up even when no one's clapping. A decision to act without waiting for permission, applause, or a flawless plan. Every breakthrough begins with a bold yes, even if it's whispered. Even if your hands shake when you say it. This is about progress, purpose, presence. It's about shifting from wishing to working, from hoping to creating, from surviving to living. And here's the truth most people avoid. Your dream will challenge you. It'll test your patience, your confidence, your commitment. But it will also elevate you. It will awaken strength you forgot you had. It will stretch your mind and break every ceiling you thought was permanent. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is staying stuck. So which discomfort are you willing to choose? Because you do get to choose. No one's coming to do it for you. But that's not the bad news. That's the liberation. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator of outcomes. You have the ability to pivot, to reimagine, to rebuild. Even if you've fallen, even if you've paused, even if you've doubted yourself 1,000 times. What matters is what you do next. So, rewrite the story. Start again, not from scratch, but from experience. Let go of the pressure to be flawless. Replace it with a commitment to be faithful to your process, your evolution, your purpose. Fuel your days with gratitude. Train your eyes to see opportunity. Speak as though the life you want is already unfolding, because it is. This is the energy shift that changes everything. And when it gets tough, and it will, remember this. You are not here to live a scripted life. You're here to write your own. So break the pattern. Build the habits. Set the boundaries. Take the leap. Say yes to the next version of you. No more waiting. No more doubting. You've got one shot at this life. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being awake, engaged, courageous. You are ready, not because you've figured it all out, but because you've decided it's time to begin. So begin, right now.